Probably has one, if not several, but the moment that put things in perspective for you, whether it was a butt whooping or an accident or a really good thing. What's an example of that? Anybody got something? I mean, something recent, maybe helicopter crash. I don't know. I got a broken leg once, and I was like, that kind of was a wake up call. Kind of think my leg got broken because I was being stubborn, and it totally changed my life from that time. No, I'm still stubborn. Still stubborn. Still trying to wake up. Yeah. We got to go to church. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Becoming a daddy will definitely make you watch your P's and Q's, especially daddy of a girl. Oh man, that's a big responsibility. Boy, throw him in some mud and he'll be fine. But a little girl, she's watching that daddy, right? Okay. A what? Oh, yeah. What? Yeah, that would be tough, man. That Brad, you're an inspiration because you go from that to where you're at today. You're a good fellow. Yeah, a lot of folks look up to you, and you've been through a little bit here lately, but and hadn't phased your attitude. That's a very good example of what how a Christian should walk. That's pretty cool. Okay, anybody else want to volunteer? No? Okay. We do all have one. I mean, maybe don't want to share them all, Brad. Then that's brave, sharing something like that. So wake up calls, putting things in perspective, and getting refocused is kind of what we're talking about tonight. The apostles in Mark and in Matthew had a couple of opportunities to gain perspective. They should have had a lot of opportunities, and they should have had perspective all along. I mean, when Jesus called them and started doing miracles, right? They should have been like, oh man, this is awesome. This is something different. They should have been faithful the whole time, right? But if you look at, let's turn to Mark chapter 4, verse 35. The apostles are in a boat, and they're with Jesus, but they are in a storm. You can go on YouTube and look up videos of I think it's Sea of Galilee, and the storms that come out of nowhere at the Sea of Galilee. In this text, it says that a fierce gale arose. So the Sea of Galilee can be very calm 1 minute, and then things change, and just the next, it's rocking and rolling. And so that's what the apostles found themselves in here in Mark chapter 4. So if we read that, Mark chapter 4, verse 35. On that day, when evening came, he said to them, let us get over to the other side. Leaving the crowd, they took him along with them in the boat, just as he was, and other boats were with him. And there arose a fierce gale of wind, and the waves were breaking over the boat so much that the boat was already filling up. Something I just caught that I have never seen. never noticed. And other boats were with him. I've always pictured this as one boat, the apostles in one boat, and Jesus in that boat. But we have several boats crossing the sea. So a pretty good group of people are going across the Sea of Galilee, and Jesus is in one of the boats with the apostles or the disciples. I guess there's several disciples here, right? And the waves were breaking over the boat so much that the boat was already filling up. Verse 38, Jesus himself was in the stern, asleep in the cushion, and they woke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care if we are perishing?" Have y'all seen that show, Chosen? It's kind of what are the words I'm looking for? It's a biblical series, but there's some artistic liberties taken in it, but they're trying to be pretty close to Scripture, and I think they're using even historically accurate prop sets and all that kind of thing. And in that show, they've got a boat when the apostles are casting their nets, and they're basically on shore, and Jesus said, "Cast over there one more time," and they get a huge haul of fish. The boat they're in, I think that's probably pretty historically accurate. We think of a boat like a ship, and it's got a deck and below deck and all this other stuff. But this is a big boat, but it's open, kind of So Jesus was at the front of the boat on a cushion, sleeping. So he's out in the elements too, basically, but he's asleep. Makes me think he's a pretty sound sleeper. He's asleep, and the apostles are pretty worried. These guys they're fishermen. They know what this sea is like, and they know how bad it can get, and they're starting to panic. And so they wake Jesus up and said, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" He got up and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Hush, be still." And the wind died down, and it became perfectly calm. And he said to them, "Why are you afraid? Do you still have no faith?" They became very much afraid and said to the other, said to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" Kind of put things in perspective for them. They didn't recognize that they had God with them. They may have known it at times, they may have recognized it at times, but when they get to looking around, looking at the world, looking at their circumstances, they lose perspective until Jesus stands up and says, "Hush," and the sea becomes completely still. I don't know what it's like when you rebuke the wind. What would that be? When I rebuke the wind, it's like, and nothing happens. The wind keeps blowing, right? But Jesus rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Hush." And it just got real quiet. That astonished the apostles, I'm sure. And they could not believe that even the wind and the waves obey him. There's another instance where there's some... Yeah. 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 Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Right. Sure. Exactly. Yeah. We may know some of the story, but we don't know the whole deal. And yeah, we can be harsh or judgmental. I can even do that, standing here looking at the apostles, looking at them, saying, you got God with you, you know?
Even even with Peter denying Christ 3 times, he was in the midst of a hostile crowd.
Yeah.
There was a lot of peer pressure, if not physical pressure, on him to deny.
Yeah.
How many times have we denied Christ when there was absolutely zero pressure?
And well, also we have more of the story than Peter does. We have the more of the
He's our faith.
yeah.
We don't even need a hostile crowd for us to want to fit in with someone.
Exactly.
Somewhat subvert our beliefs and our morals and stuff. Just be part of it.
Yep.
Now, later on, hopefully, the truth shines through and people see that in us. But I personally have felt the shame of not letting people know who and what I am.
Yeah.
And for no reason.
Yeah.
There wasn't the threat of bodily harm.
Sure.
So we can carry that shame around with us.
Yikes, for sure.
I think for me, one of the challenges is they had God in a box. Okay, he can create sandwiches out of fish.
Yeah.
Whatever. But all that's normal, everyday stuff. But the wind, waves, and I think that we tend to do that. If today everybody were praying for something that seemed miraculous, how many of us would truly believe that God would answer that prayer? Versus how many of us would be going, well, I don't think God works that way, but...
No, we have a living example of that right now. Supposed to come home on Friday.
Yeah. And we got several others when you look around.
I mean, I'm a product of that too.
But
we have example after example of the power of prayer.
Well, we've been seeing that in our text. The guys, the church men have a text thread, and people are really acknowledging the power of prayer.
So why
The power of God, yeah.
So why do we put God in a box? And God may do it for Randy, but I'm just,
It's safer to put him in a box.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because if we pray fervently for something and it doesn't happen, we feel like that reflects on our faith.
Oh, it'll rock your world.
No, it reflects on God's answer to that prayer.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't always answer it in the way that we're wanting to. That's why I try to be very careful with my public prayer. If it be your will, it's going to be His will.
Yeah.
Jesus even prayed it, done on earth as it is in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So we have to operate within the confines of His will. Maybe the solution is pray for increased faith. Don't understand. The way that just accept it, no, there's a greater purpose. There's a plan working there, and we're just not privy to that plan. Nor could we comprehend it if we were.
I gotta ask, you guys read my mind sometimes? Because this is like I watch this show daily, and y'all are saying the stuff I say to myself daily. I may have said some of this to Holly today. Randa?
I was going to say too, we're talking about that and the miraculous recovery, but at the same time, like Brad said, it's God's will. Yes, everyone is praying for him, but at the same time, Clay made a comment of God's not done with him yet.
Yeah.
That's why these prayers are being answered.
There you go.
Yeah.
I was just waiting for an opportunity to tell Randy,
It didn't hurt to him, I think.
yeah,
Well,
Well,
for
but
me, that's okay, and I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
Like,
well,
thank you for not being done with him yet, whatever that
But-
reason may be.
bringing it home even more.
Mm-hmm.
A year and 2 weeks ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 bladder cancer.
Scary.
My personal doctor here in town did not speak to me very openly for about 4 months.
Yeah.
And in November, when it had been downstaged and all of that, he finally did not tell me, but he told Toya, I'm glad it's working, because if it hadn't, he had 6 months to live. Yeah, the doctors gave me medicine. Yes, I had a will to respond to that medicine. But it's answered prayers, and God's not done with me. And if that doesn't scare somebody, I don't know what would.
The fact that God's not done with you?
That God's not done with me, what does he have for me?
Yeah. Is that scary or is it encouraging or is it a mix of both?
Oh no, it's fear.
It's fear?
It's total fear.
Well, Brad,
No, I'm serious.
why does that scare you?
Because I know how good I am at coming up short.
You know what?
I know how good I am at coming up short.
Oh, yeah?
Therefore, if God's not done with me, whatever he's got for me to do, I'm going to have to do it through him.
Yeah.
Or he's doing it through me, or whatever the wording is for that.
Okay.
That's where Proverbs comes in. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
But I know there's something out there for me to do. And what if I walk by it and turn my head?
Are you not wearing the shoes that Peter wore? Don't you think that
We're
Peter...
all guilty. Peter and all 12 disciples were examples of humanity.
Right. To deny someone before they died 3 times publicly. He was adamant. The 3rd time he was almost cursing. I don't know the man. And then the rooster crows and he's like, oh, wake up call. And then a little while later, he's having a conversation with Jesus. And Jesus asks him 3 times, Peter, do you love me? Man, can you imagine the gut punch every time Jesus says, Peter, do you love me? Yeah, I love you.
Okay, so is it a coincidence he asked him the same number of times that he denied him?
Yeah.
I think not. I don't believe it. Well, I told everybody we don't believe in coincidence.
Yeah.
Jesus was grooming Peter for the job he had.
Right.
Peter didn't shrink from that job.
Don't you think Peter was thinking, man, I'm going to come up short?
Yeah, I mean,
But is it up to Peter? And that's kind of the point.
it is up to Peter to accept that role.
Okay.
God gave us free will.
Yeah.
We can throw the cross down and walk off anytime we want.
Sounds pretty easy.
And I don't know about anybody else, but I have many times.
Yeah.
You know how humbling it is to turn back around and go back and
Pick up. Yeah. Yeah. This is deep stuff. Okay.
So let's think about Peter.
Yeah. Well, we were going to go talk about Peter some more. I think we were going to go to Matthew. Let me think. Yeah, Matthew chapter 14, verse 22. Speaking of coming up short, Peter did some pretty bold, pretty brave things here, and then he sank, right? Matthew 14, 29, is it 22? Yeah, 22. Immediately he made the disciples get in the boat and go ahead of him to the other side, while he sent crowds away. After he had sent the crowds away, he went up on the mountains by himself to pray. And it was evening. He was there alone. But the boat was already a long distance from the land, battered by the waves, for the wind was contrary. Is this the same sea? I can't remember exactly. I think it's the same sea. And the wind on this sea is contrary. And in the 4th watch of the night, he came to them, walking on the sea. When the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified, and they said, it's a ghost, or is it a ghost? And they cried out in fear, but immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, take courage, it is I, do not be afraid. Peter said to him, Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water. And he said, come. And Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water. Walked on the water toward Jesus. But seeing the wind, he became frightened, and beginning to sink, he cried out, Lord, save me. Immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and took hold of him and said to him, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" When they got in the boat, the wind stopped, and those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "You certainly are God's son." They didn't know that before. They didn't know that before they saw Jesus walking on the water. They didn't see him feed 5,000. They didn't see him raise little kids and stuff from the dead. They didn't see him heal the sick.
But again, we have God in a box. We have God here, but can God heal the alcoholic? Can God get the person up out of the hospital bed? Can God be with the unwed mother or the kid who's driving home that's so tired that they can't hardly keep their eyes open? And we doubt. Can God? And I think we phrase it as will God, but I think truly in our minds the question is, can God?
Is that not everybody in this room every day? I have that fight going to bed at night, and I have it waking up. I got a really good wife that keeps poking on me, telling me, "Hurry up, drink that coffee, get out there," you know. But it's every day. Can God? Will God? Is He going to do it? And we're Christians. We got the full story. The apostles had Him with them, and we're sitting here judging. I'm sitting here judging the apostles because they got God with Him, and they're doubting. But do we not as well? I mean, everybody in here got dunked at some point, right? Just about everybody. We got Him with us. He's with us. And we have that fight. Well, it's nothing new. Everything we've looked at is just a little painting of the exact same thing that's been happening since the Old Testament. If you turn with me to Psalm 107, the people in what? Israel had the same problem all the time. They had it in the desert multiple times. They had it. David had the problem as well. They had it with their kings. Is God faithful? Can He do this? Will He do this? Yes, He can do it. It's up to Him. His will is going to be done no matter what. Whether it fits in the box that we've painted or that we have Him in or not, God's will is going to be done. So in Psalm 107, it's a reminder of all the times that God was faithful, all the times that His loving kindness, His mercy shone through on His people. Maybe not the way they wanted it to or exactly when they wanted it to, but in the end, God always pulled through for them. Even if they didn't, even if they had to wander the desert for 40 years while a bunch of them died off because they were always coming up short. God always held up His end of the bargain. So in Psalm 107, it says, "Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for He is good, for His loving kindness is everlasting." That phrase right there is going to come up again in 137, I think. And if you just flip over there to Psalm 137, when we do, that'll be getting close to the end. And y'all are going to read this. I'm going to make y'all read it. I think it's 137. 136. Yeah. Give thanks to the Lord, for He is good, for His loving kindness is everlasting. And that is repeated, something for His loving kindness is everlasting, is repeated like 26 times. But it's something good to read, because how many times in a day do we forget that His loving kindness is everlasting? How many times in 5 minutes have I forgotten that God's loving kindness is everlasting? But verse 2, "Let the redeemed of the Lord say so." That's us. "Whom He has redeemed from the hand of the adversary, and gathered from the lands, from the east and from the west, from the north and from the south." That is even more true today than it was when it's written. This is what?
The writer of this was probably talking about a physical adversary.
Yeah.
God had delivered them from
Mm-hmm.
delivered them over all their enemies.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking about the adversary.
Yeah, but the people he's redeemed.
But this offering, let the redeemed of the Lord say so. This author had no idea of the plan of salvation.
But he had something.
But
No coincidences.
we do know of the plan of salvation.
Yeah. But there's no coincidences, Brad, and he's sitting here telling us about the plan of salvation.
But it's already been explained to us and exposed to us and demonstrated to us.
Yep.
So if we chastise Israelites or the disciples, their failure to comprehend,
Yeah. Oh, I've done it 3 times in this class.
it's on us even worse.
Yeah.
Because the Israelites weren't privy to that plan.
Right.
The disciples, that was the first examples of God they had seen and grown in. We grew up, I mean, those of us that grew up studying the Bible, we grew up knowing this.
Mm-hmm. And so what we're about to read are all the times that God was faithful. So a Hebrew is reminding Israel all the times from here, historically, that God was faithful. So the redeemed, from verses 1 through 3, are the they in verse 4. They wandered in the wilderness in a desert region. They did not find a way to an inhabited city. They were hungry and thirsty. Their soul fainted within them. Then they cried out to the Lord in their trouble. He delivered them out of their distress. He led them also by a straight way to go to an inhabited city. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his loving kindness and for his wonders to the sons of men. For he has satisfied the thirsty soul, and the hungry soul he has filled with what is good. Did he satisfy their thirst in the desert? Were they hungry in the desert? Is that the thirsty and hungry we're talking about? Not really, but sort of. It applies. It's a reminder. It's a reminder, right? Man, crazy how all this stuff clicks. There were those who dwelt in darkness and in the shadow of death, prisoners in misery and chains, because they had rebelled against the words of God and spurned the counsel of the Most High. Therefore he humbled their heart with labor. They stumbled, and there was none to help. Then they cried out to the Lord in their trouble. He saved them out of their distress. He brought them out of darkness and the shadow of death, and broke their bands apart. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his loving kindness and for his wonders to the sons of men. For he has shattered gates of bronze and cut bars of iron asunder. This is talking about several different things. How many times was Israel held captive? Were they enslaved by other nations? We know, Egypt, Assyria, Persia, all these other times. And who came to their rescue? It was always God. And continuing on with that, they were in captivity in verse 17 because they were fools. Fools because of their rebellious way, and because of their iniquities were afflicted. Their soul abhorred all kinds of food, and they drew near to the gates of death. They cried out to the Lord in their trouble. He saved them out of their distress. He sent his words and healed them and delivered them from their destructions. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his loving kindness and his wonders to the sons of men. Let them also offer sacrifices of thanksgiving and tell of his works with joyful singing. So I think it's been said 3 times, 4 times. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his loving kindness. I guess what I would take from this is that all the times when you've got God in a box, remember and give thanks to the Lord for his loving kindness. And think of all the times that he has saved. It only takes once. He saved us once and for all. But he's saved us continually from the beginning. He continues to redeem his people through his loving kindness. Verse 23. Those who go down to the sea in ships, who do business on great waters, they have seen the works of the Lord and his wonders in the deep. For he spoke and raised up a stormy wind. Sound familiar? He spoke and raised up a stormy wind. So before we just read that he spoke and calmed the stormy wind. Verse 25, for he spoke and raised up a stormy wind, which lifted up the waves of the sea. They rose up to the heavens. They went down to the depths. Their soul melted away in their misery. They reeled and staggered like drunken men, and were at their wits' end, when they cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he brought them out of their distress. He caused the storm to be still. What? What does this sound like? He caused the storm to be still, so that the waves of the sea were hushed. Then they were glad because they were quiet. So he guided them to their desired haven. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his loving kindness and for his wonders to the sons of men. Let them extol him in the congregation of the people and praise him at the seat of the elders. What? How did he do that? How did some guy that didn't know Peter and Jesus and the apostles, how did he do this? Brad just said, this guy doesn't know. He's writing in the context of what he's experienced, of the history that he knows. But he just put right in the middle of this chapter what we just read in the New Testament. That's amazing. Say that one more time. The same, that's the only way, right? But it's amazing. That's really cool. That is really cool. Now, put that over here and think of times when you're in your life and you feel like you're drowning because you can't control anything. You're getting tossed. One day it's one thing, and the other day it's next, and it's all out of your control. And none of it's fun. Nothing's going right. You're at your wits' end. It says that in here, does it not? Yeah. Verse 27. And they were at their wits' end. They didn't know what they were going to do. Waves over here, can't go this way. We're just stuck in this one spot and can't get out. But there is an answer. Verse 33. He changes rivers into a wilderness and springs of water into thirsty ground, a fruitful land to a salty waste because of the wickedness of those who dwell in it. He changes a wilderness into a pool of water and a dry land into springs of water. And there he makes the hungry to dwell so that they may establish an inhabited city and sow fields and plant vineyards and gather fruitful harvests. And he blesses them and they multiply greatly. And he does not let their cattle decrease. What does that mean? Why did he throw in cattle? What's the guy with all hat and no cattle? Not a very good rancher, right? But God, he doesn't let your cattle decrease. You multiply. He gives you wealth. Does that mean he's going to give you earthly wealth? Is that what we're looking for? Everybody in here getting in the cattle business now? No. He's already blessed us. He's already blessing us. You going to say something?
David knew a lot more than what we think.
Yeah.
This is a little boy that took stones to kill the giant.
Yep.
God's help. He knew God's power. He understood a lot more than what we think.
Yep.
He knew.
Yep.
He knew God was the creator of heaven and earth, had control of all this. Christ was involved in creation and control of all of it.
David knew God, right? David spent a lot of time with the Lord, which is very inspirational and something that we should all aspire to do more. From this, whoever wrote this, I don't know if it's David or who, but they knew the Lord. At the very least, they knew the Lord. And they trust in his loving kindness. They know that his loving kindness is everlasting. Verse 29, when they are diminished and bowed down through oppression, misery, and sorrow, he pours contempt upon princes and makes them wander in a pathless waste. But he sets the needy securely on a high away from affliction and makes his families like a flock. The upright see it and are glad, but all unrighteousness shuts its mouth. Who is wise? Let him give heed to these things and consider the loving kindness of the Lord. Whoever wrote this, they knew the Lord. And the Lord is working through them, and we can see that from the scripture that it's here, that it coincides with in Matthew and in Mark. This is why I eat Psalms up. It gives us so much encouragement. It gives so much perspective, and it helps you get focused. Sorry, my phone is ringing, and that's my son. He didn't know I'm teaching class. So much perspective. It's like a wake-up call. Every time I get to teach this class, it's like, Brandon, wake up, And I'm telling you, I get way more out of this than y'all do. But I do appreciate the participation. Y'all are an awesome class to teach, to get taught by. Thank you.